The man with two faces. It was Quirrell. You, gasped Harry. Quirrell smiled. His face was still wasn't twitching at all. Me, he said calmly. I wondered whether I'd be meeting you here, Potter. But I thought Snape... Service? Quirrell laughed. And it wasn't his usual quivering, terrible laugh either. It was cold and sharp. Yes, Service does seem the type now, doesn't he? So useful to have him swooping around like an overgrown bat. Next to him, who would suspect poor stuttering poor Professor Quirrell? Harry couldn't take it in. This couldn't be true, could it? But Snape tried to kill me. Oh, no, 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 boy. I tried to kill you. Your friend Miss Granger accidentally knocked me over when she rushed to set fire to Snape at the Quidditch match. She broke my eye contact with you. Another few seconds and then you've gone off that broom. I'd have managed it before if Snape hadn't been muttering a countercurse trying to save you. Snape was trying to save me? Of course, said Quirrell coolly. Why do you think he wanted to referee the next match? He was trying to make sure I didn't do it again. Funny, really. He needn't bothered. I couldn't do anything with Dumbledore watching. All the other teachers thought Snape was trying to stop Gryffindor from winning. He did make himself unpopular. And what a waste of time when after all that I'm going to kill you tonight. Quirrell snapped his fingers, and ropes sprang out from the thin air and wrapped themselves tightly around Harry. You're too nosy to live, Potter, scurrying about the school at Halloween like that. For all I knew, you'd seen me coming to look at what I was guarding the stone. You let the troll in? Certainly. I have a special gift with trolls. You might have seen what I did to the one on the chamber back there, unfortunately. While everyone else was running around looking for it, Snape, who already suspected me, went straight to the third floor to head me off. And not only did my troll fail to beat you to death, that three-headed dog didn't even manage to bite Snape's leg off properly. Now wait quietly, Potter. I need to examine this interesting mirror. It was only then that Harry realized what was standing behind Quirrell. It was the mirror of Resred. The mirror is the key to finding the stone, Quirrell muttered, tapping his way around the frame. Trust Dumbledore to come up with something like this. But he's in London. I'll be far away by the time he gets back. All Harry could think of was doing was keep Quirrell talking and stop him from concentrating on the mirror. I saw you and Snape in the forest, he blurted out. Yes, said Quirrell idly, walking around the mirror to look at the back. He was on to me by that time, trying to find out how far I'd got. He suspected me all along, tried to frighten me, as though I could be frightened when I had Lord Voldemort by my side. Quirrell came back out from behind the mirror and stared hungrily into it. I see the stone. I'm presenting the stone to my master, but where is it? Harry struggled against the ropes binding him. They didn't give. He had to keep Quirrell from giving his whole attention to that mirror. But Snape always seemed to hate me so much. Oh, he does, dear boy, said Quirrell casually. Heavens, yes. He was at Hogwarts with your father, didn't you know? They loathed each other. But he never wanted you dead. But I heard you a few days ago sobbing. I thought Snape was threatening you. For the first time, a spasm of fear flitted across Quirrell's face. Sometimes, he said, I find it hard to follow my master's instructions. He is a great wizard, and I am weak. You mean he was there in the classroom with you? Harry gasped. He's with me wherever I go, said Quirrell quietly. I met him when I traveled around the world. A foolish young man I was then, full of ridiculous ideas about good and evil. Lord Voldemort showed me how wrong I was. There's no good, there's no evil, there's only power, and those too weak to see it. Since then, I have served him faithfully. Although I've let him down many times, he has had to be very hard on me, Quirrell quivered, shivered suddenly. Oh, he does not forgive mistakes easily. When I failed to steal the stone from Gringotts, he was most displeased. He punished me. He decided he would have to keep a closer watch on me. Quirrell's voice trailed away. Harry remembered his trip to Diagon Alley. How could he have been so stupid? He'd seen Quirrell, and that very day shaken hands with him at the Leaky Cauldron. Quirrell cursed under his breath. I don't understand. Is the stone inside the mirror? Should I break it? Harry's mind was racing. What I want more than anything in the world at this moment, he thought, was to find that stone before Quirrell does. So if I look in the mirror, I should see myself finding it, which means I'll know where it's hidden. But how can I look without Quirrell realizing what I've up to? He tried to edge left to get in front of the glass without noticing, but the ropes around his ankles were too tight. He tripped over and fell. Quirrell ignored him. He was talking to himself. What does this mirror do? How does it work? Help me, master! And to Harry's horror, a voice answered, and the voice seemed to come from Quirrell himself. Use the boy. Use the boy. Quirrell rounded on Harry. Yes, Potter, come here. He clapped his hands at once, and the ropes binding Harry fell off. Harry got up slowly to his feet. Come here, Quirrell repeated. Look in that mirror and tell me what you see. Harry walked toward him. I must lie, he thought desperately. I must look and lie about what I see, that's all. Quirrell moved close behind him. Harry breathed in a funny smell that seemed to be coming from Quirrell's turban. He closed his eyes, stepped forward in front of the mirror, opened them again. He saw his reflection, and the pale, scared looking at first, but a moment later the reflection smiled at him and put his hand into his pocket and pulled out the blood-red stone and winked and put the stone back in his pocket. And as he did so, Harry felt something heavy drop into his real pocket. Somehow, incredibly, he'd gotten the stone. Well, said Quirrell impatiently, what do you see? Harry screwed up his courage. Oh, I see myself shaking hands with Dumbledore. He invented. I've won the House Cup for Gryffindor. Quirrell cursed again. Get out of the way! And Harry moved aside. He felt the stones against his leg. Dare he make a break for it? But he hadn't walked 5 paces when the high voice spoke through Quirrell. He wasn't even moving his lip. He lies! He lies! Potter, come back here, Quirrell shouted. Tell me the truth. What did you just see? The high voice spoke again. Let me speak to him face to face. Master, you are not strong enough. I have strength for this. Harry felt as if the devil's snare was rooting him to the spot. He couldn't move a muscle. Petrified, he watched as Quirrell reached up and began to unwrap his turban. What was going on? His turban fell away, and Quirrell's head looked strangely small without it. Then he turned slowly on the spot. Harry would have screamed, but he couldn't make a sound. Where there should have been the back of Quirrell's head, there was a face, the most terrible face Harry had ever seen. It was chalk white, with glaring red eyes and slits for nostrils, like a snake. Harry Potter, it whispered. Harry tried to step back, but his legs wouldn't move. See what I've become, the face said. Mere shadow, a vapor. I have form only when I can share another's body. But there have always been those willing to let me in their hearts and minds. Unicorn blood has strengthened me. These past weeks, your faithful Quirrell drinking for me in the forest. And once I have the elixir of life, I will be able to create a body of my own. Now, why don't you give me that stone in your pocket? So he knew. A feeling suddenly surged back into Harry's leg, and he stumbled backwards. Don't be a fool, snarled the face. Better save your own life and join me, or you'll meet the same fate as your parents. They died begging for mercy. Liar! Harry shouted suddenly. Quirrell was walking backwards at him, and Voldemort could see him. The evil face was now smiling. "Oh, how touching," he hissed. "I always valued bravery. Yes, boy. Your parents were brave. I killed your father first, and he put up a courageous fight. But your mother needn't have died. She was trying to protect you. Now give me that stone, unless you want her to have died in vain." "Never!" Harry sprang towards the flame door, but Voldemort screamed, "Seize him!" And the next second, Harry felt Quirrell's hands close on his wrists. At once, a needle-sharp pain seared across Harry's scar. His head felt as though it was about to split in two. He yelled, struggling with all his might, and to his surprise, Quirrell let go of him. The pain in his head lessened. He looked around, wild to see where Quirrell had gone, and he saw him hunched over in pain with his fingers. They were blistering before his eyes. "Seize him! Seize him!" shrieked Lord Voldemort again. Quirrell lunged, knocking Harry clean off his feet, landing on top of him, both hands around Harry's neck. Harry's scar was almost blinding him in pain, yet he could see Quirrell howling in anger. "Master, master, I couldn't hold him. My hands, my hands!" And Quirrell, though pinning Harry to the ground with his knees, let go of his neck and stared bewilderedly at his own palms. Harry could see they looked burned, raw, red, and shiny. "Then kill him, fool, and be done!" screeched Voldemort. Quirrell raised his hand to perform the deadly curse, but Harry, by instinct, reached up and grabbed Quirrell's face. "Ah!" Quirrell rolled off of him, his face blistering too, and Harry knew Quirrell couldn't touch his bare skin, not without suffering terrible pain. His only chance to keep hold of Quirrell was to keep him in enough pain to stop him from doing the curse. Harry jumped to his feet, caught Quirrell by the arm, and hung on as tight as he could. Quirrell screamed and tried to throw Harry off. The pain in Harry's head was blinding, and it was building, and he couldn't see. He couldn't only hear Quirrell's terrible shrieks and Voldemort yelling, "Kill him! Kill him!" and other voices, maybe in Harry's own head, crying, "Harry! Harry!" He felt Quirrell's arms wrenched from his grasp, knew all was lost, and fell into blackness, down, down, down. Something gold and glinting just above him. The snitch! He tried to catch it, but his arms were too heavy. He blinked. It wasn't the snitch at all. It was a pair of glasses. How strange. He blinked again. The smiling face of Albus Dumbledore swam into view. "Good afternoon, Harry," said Dumbledore. Harry stared at him. Then he remembered. "Sir, the stone! It was Quirrell! He's got the stone! Sir, quick!" "Calm yourself, dear boy. You are a little behind the times," said Dumbledore. "Quirrell does not have the stone." "Then who does, sir? Harry, please relax, or Madame Pomfrey will have me thrown out." Harry swallowed and looked around him. He realized he must be in the hospital wing. He was lying in a bed with white linen sheets, and next to him was a table piled high with what looked like half the candy shop. "Tokens from your friends and admirers," said Dumbledore, beaming. "What happened down in the dungeon between you and the Professor Quirrell is a complete secret, so naturally the whole school knows. I believe your friends Mr. Fred and George Weasley were responsible for trying to send you a toilet seat. No doubt they thought it would amuse you. Madame Pomfrey, however, felt that it would not be very hygienic and confiscated it." "How long have I been in here?" "3 days. Mr. Ronald Weasley and Miss Granger will be most relieved to find that you've come around. They have been extremely worried. But, sir, the stone—" "Oh, I see you're not to be distracted. Very well. The stone Professor Quirrell did not manage to take from you. I arrived in time to prevent that, although you were doing very well on your own, I must say." "You got there? You got Hermione's owl?" "He must have crossed in mid-air. No sooner had I reached London, and it became clear to me that it was the place I should be, was the one place I had just left. So I arrived just in time to pull Quirrell off of you." "It was you?" I feared I might be too late. You nearly were. I couldn't have kept him off the stone much longer. No, the stone boy. You. The effort involved nearly killed you. For one terrible moment, I was afraid I'd had. As for the stone, it's been destroyed. Destroyed? Said Harry blankly. But your friend, Nicholas Flamel. Oh, you know about Nicholas, said Dumbledore, sounding quite delighted. You did do the thing properly, didn't you? Well, Nicholas and I have had a little chat and agreed that it's for all the best. But that means he and his wife will die, won't they? Oh, they have enough elixir slotted to set their affairs in order, and then yes, they will die. Dumbledore smiled with a look of amazement on Harry's face. To one as young as you, I'm sure that seems incredible. But to Nicholas and Purnell, it really is like going to bed for the very, very long day. After all, to the well-organized mind, death is but a next great adventure. You know, the stone was really not such a wonderful thing. As much money and life as it could want. The two things that human beings would choose above all. The trouble is, humans do have a knack for choosing precisely the things that are the worst for them. Harry lay there, lost for words. Dumbledore hummed a little, and he smiled at the ceiling. Sir, said Harry, I've been thinking, sir, even if the stone's gone, you know who. Call him Voldemort, Harry. I always use the proper name for things. Fear of a name increases the fear of thing itself. Yes, sir. Well, Voldemort's going to try in other ways to coming back, isn't he? He isn't gone, has he? No, Harry, he has not. He is still out there somewhere, perhaps looking for another body to share. Not being truly alive, he cannot be killed. He left Quirrell to die. Shows just how little mercy he has for his followers as his enemies. Nevertheless, Harry, while you may only have delayed his return to power, it will merely take someone else who is just prepared to fight that what seems a losing battle next time. And if he's delayed again and again, why, he may never return to power. Harry nodded, but stopped quickly because it made his head hurt. Well, then he said, Sir, are there some things I'd like to know if you can tell me? Things I want to know the truth about. The truth, Dumbledore sighed. Ah, it's a beautiful and terrible thing, and should therefore be treated with great caution. However, I shall answer your questions unless I have a very good reason not to, in which case I will beg you to forgive me. I shall not, of course, lie. Well, Voldemort said that he only killed my mother because she tried him to stop him from killing me. But why would he want to kill me in the first place? Dumbledore sighed very deeply at this time. Alas, the first thing you ask me, I cannot tell you. Not today, not now. You will know one day. Put it from your mind for now, Harry. When you are older, I know you hate to hear this. When you are ready, you will know. And Harry knew it would be no good to argue. But why couldn't Quirrell touch me? Your mother died to save you. If there is one thing Voldemort cannot understand, it is love. He didn't realize that love, as powerful as your mother's for you, leaves its own mark. Not a scar, not a visible sign. To have that been loved so deeply, even though the person who loved you is gone, will give us protection forever. It is in your very skin. Quirrell, full of hatred and greed and ambition, sharing his soul with Voldemort, could not touch you. For this reason, it was agony to touch a person marked by something so good. Dumbledore now became very interested in a bird out on the windowsill, which gave Harry time to dry his eyes on the sheet. When he had found his voice again, Harry said, And the invisibility cloak? Do you know who sent it to me? Ah, your father happened to leave that in my possession, and I thought you might like it. Dumbledore's eyes twinkled. Useful little things. Your father used it mainly for sneaking off to the kitchen to steal food when he was here. And there's something else. Fire away. Quirrell and Snape. Professor Snape? Harry? Yes, him. Quirrell said he hates me because he hated my father. Is that true? Well, they did rather detest each other, not unlike yourself and Mr. Malfoy. And then your father did something Snape could never forgive. What? He saved his life. What? Yes, Dumbledore said dreamily. Funny, the way people's minds work, isn't it? Professor Snape couldn't bear being in your father's debt. I do believe he worked so hard to protect you this year because he felt that would make him or your father even. Then he could go back to hating your father's memory in peace. Harry tried to understand this, but it made his head pound, so he stopped. And sir, one more thing. Just one? How did I get the stone out of the mirror? Ah, now I'm glad you asked me that. It was one of my more brilliant ideas. Between you and me, that's saying something. You see, only one who wanted to find the stone could find it, but not use it, would be able to get it. Otherwise, they would just see themselves making gold or drinking elixir of life. My brain surprises me even sometimes. Now, enough with the questions. I suggest you make a start at these sweets. Ah, Bertie Bott's every flavored beans. I was unfortunate enough in my youth to come across a vomit-flavored one, and since then I'm afraid I've rather lost my liking for them. But I think I'll be safe and nice if I try a toffee, don't you? He smiled and popped the golden brown one in his mouth, and then he choked and said, Alax, earwax. Madame Pomfrey's the nurse and a nice woman, but very strict. Just 5 minutes, Harry pleaded. Just 5 minutes? Absolutely not. You let Professor Dumbledore in? Well, of course. That was the headmaster. Quite different. You need rest. I'm resting. Look, I'm lying down. Everything's okay. Go on, Madame Pomfrey. Oh, very well, she said, but 5 minutes only. And she let Ron and Hermione in. Harry! Hermione looked ready to fling her arms around him again, but Harry was glad she held herself in, as his head was still very sore. Oh, Harry, we were sure you were going to. Dumbledore was so worried. The whole school's talking about it, said Ron. What really happened? It was one of those rare occasions the true story is even more strange and exciting than the wild rumors. Harry told them everything: Quirrell, the mirror, the stone, and Voldemort. Ron and Hermione were a very good audience. They gasped in all the right places, and Harry told them what was under Quirrell's turban. Hermione screamed out loud. So the stone's gone? Said Ron finally. Flamel's just going to die? That's what I said, but Dumbledore thinks that was it. To a well-organized mind, death is nothing but the next great adventure. I always said he was a bit of a rocker. A bit off his rocker, said Ron, looking quite impressed with how crazy his hero was. So, what happened to you two? Harry said. Well, I got back all right, said Hermione. I brought Ron around. That took a while, and we were dashing up the owlery to contact Dumbledore when we met him in the entrance hall. He already knew. He just said, Harry's gone after him, hasn't he? And he hurled off to the third floor. Do you think he meant you to do it? Said Ron. Sending you your father's cloak and everything? Well, Hermione exploded, if he did, I mean to say, that's terrible. You could have been killed. No, it wasn't, said Harry thoughtfully. He's a funny man, Dumbledore. I think he sort of wanted me to give me the chance. I think he knows more or less everything that goes on here. You know, I reckon he has a pretty good idea we were going to try, and instead of stopping, he just taught us enough to help. I don't think it was an accident he let me find out how the mirror worked, and almost like he thought I had the right to face Voldemort if I could. Yeah, Dumbledore's off his rocker, all right, said Ron proudly. Listen, you've got to be up for the end of the year feast tomorrow. These points are all in and Slytherin won, of course. You missed the last Quidditch match. We were steamrolled by Ravenclaw without you. But the food'll be great. At that moment, Mammoth Pomfrey busted in. You have had nearly 15 minutes out, she said firmly. After a good night's sleep, Harry was nearly feeling back to normal. I want to go to the feast, he told Madame Pomfrey, as she straightened his many candy boxes. I can't I? Professor Dumbledore says you are allowed to go, she said stiffly, as though her opinion of Professor Dumbledore didn't realize how risky feast could be. And you have another visitor. Oh, good, said Harry. Who is it? Hagrid sidled through the door and spoke as usual when he was indoors. Hagrid looked too big to be allowed. He sat down next to Harry, took one look at him, and burst out into tears. It's all my ruddy fault, he sobbed. His face was in his hands. I told the evil get to past Fluffy. I told him it was the only thing he didn't know, and I told you you could have died. All you for a dragon egg. I'll never drink again. I should have been chucked out and made to live to live as a Muggle. Hagrid, said Harry, shocked to see Hagrid shaking with grief and remorse, great tears leaking down onto his beard. Hagrid, he'd have found out somehow. That is Voldemort we're talking about. He'd have found out even if you hadn't have told him. You could have died, sobbed Hagrid. And don't say that name. Voldemort, Harry bellowed. Hagrid was so shocked he stopped crying. I've met him, and I'm calling him by his name. Please cheer up, Hagrid. We saved the stone. It's gone. He can't use it. He can't have it. Have a chocolate frog. I have loads. Hagrid wiped his nose with the back of his hand and said, That reminds me. I've got you a present. It's not a stoat sandwich, is it? Harry anxiously said at last. Hagrid gave him a weak chuckle. Nah. Dumbledore gave me the day off yesterday to fix it. Of course, he should have sacked me instead. Anyway, got you this. He seemed to have a handsome leather-covered book. Harry opened it curiously and was full of wizard photographs. Smiling and waving at him from every page was his mother and father. I sent owls from all your parents, your old school friends asking for photos. No, you didn't have any. Do you like it? Harry couldn't speak, but Hagrid understood. Harry made his way down to the end of the year feast alone that night. He had been held up by Madame Pomfrey, fussing about, insisting on giving him one last checkup. So the great hall was already full. It was decked out in Slytherin colors of green and silver for the celebration, to celebrate Slytherin's winning the House Cup for the 7th year in a row. A huge banner towering the Slytherin serpent covered the wall behind the high table. When Harry walked in, there was a sudden hush, and then everyone started talking loudly at once. He slipped into the seat between Ron and Hermione at the Gryffindor table and tried to ignore the fact that people were standing up to look at him. Fortunately, Dumbledore arrived moments later, and the babble died away. Another year gone, Dumbledore said cheerfully, and I must trouble you with an old man's wheezing waffle before we sink our teeth into our delicious feast. What a year it's been! Hopefully your heads are a little fuller than they were. You have a whole summer ahead to get them nice and empty before the year starts. Now, as I understand, the House Cup here needs awarding, and the points stand thus. 4th place Gryffindor with 312 points. 3rd place Hufflepuff with 352 points. Ravenclaw with 426 points, and Slytherin with 472. A storm of cheering, stamping broke out by the Slytherin table. Harry could see Draco Malfoy banging the goblet on the table. It was a sickening sight. Yes, well done, Slytherin, said Dumbledore. However, recent events must be taken into account. The room was very still. The Slytherin smiles faded a little. said Dumbledore. I have some last-minute points to dish out, so let me see. Yes. First, to Mr. Ronald Weasley. Ron went purple in the face, and he looked like a radish with a bad sunburn. For the best played game of chess at Hogwarts that has seen in many years, I award Gryffindor 50 points. Gryffindor cheers nearly raised the bewitching ceiling, and the stars overhead seemed to quiver. Percy could be heard telling the other prefects, "My brother, you know, my youngest brother, got past McGonagall's giant chess set." At last there was silence again. Second, to Miss Hermione Granger. For the use of cool logic in the face of a fire, I award Gryffindor House 50 points. Hermione's face buried in her arms, Harry strongly suspected she had burst into tears. Gryffindor was up and down the table, beside themselves. They were 100 points up. Third, to Mr. Harry Potter, said Dumbledore. The room went deadly quiet. For pure nerve and outstanding courage, I award Gryffindor 60 points. The din was deafening. Those who could add up, while yelling themselves hoarse, knew that Gryffindor had 472 points, exactly the same as Slytherin had, tied for the House Cup. And if only Dumbledore had given him one more point. Dumbledore raised his hand, and the room gradually fell silent. There are all kinds of courage, said Dumbledore, smiling. It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to our enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends. Therefore, I award 10 points to Mr. Neville Longbottom. Someone standing outside the great hall might have thought that an explosion had taken place, so loud that noise had erupted from the Gryffindor hall. Harry, Ron, and Hermione stood up and yelled and cheered as Neville was white with shock. He disappeared under the pile of people hugging him. He had never won so much as a point for Gryffindor before. Harry, still cheering, nudged Ron in the ribs and pointed to Malfoy, who couldn't have looked more stunned or horrified if he had just had a body bind curse put on him. Which means, Dumbledore called with a storm of applause for Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, celebrating the downfall of Slytherin, we need a change of decoration. He clapped his hands, and in an instant the green hangings became scarlet and silver and gold, and the huge Slytherin serpent vanished, and a Tower Gryffindor lion took its place. Snape was shaking Professor McGonagall's hand with a horrible forced smile. He caught Harry's eye. Harry knew at once Snape's feelings towards him hadn't changed one jot. He didn't worry, though. It seemed as though life would be back to normal next year, as normal as ever been at Hogwarts. It was the best evening of Harry's life, better than winning at Quidditch or Christmas or knocking out mountain trolls. He would never, ever forget tonight. Harry had almost forgotten the exam results were still on to come, but they did. And to their great surprise, both he and Ron passed with good marks. Hermione, of course, had the best grades of the first years. Even Neville scraped through. His good herbology marks were making up for his abysmal potions one. They had all helped that Goyle, who, almost as stupid as he was mean, might be thrown out, but he had passed too. It was a shame. But as Ron said, you couldn't have everything in life. And suddenly, their wardrobes were empty, and their trunks were packed, and Neville's toad was found lurking in the corner of the toilets. Notes were handed to all the students, warning them not to use magic over the holidays. I always hoped they'd forget to give these, said Fred Weasley sadly. Hagrid was there to take them down to the fleet to the boats. They sailed across the lake. They were boarding the Hogwarts Express, talking and laughing, and on the countryside became greener and greener and tidier, eating Bertie Bott's ever-flavored beans. They sped past Muggle towns, pulling out of their wizard robes and putting on their jackets and their coats and putting on the platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross Station. It took quite a while, for them to get off the platform. It a wizened old guard was up by the ticket barrier, letting them go through at the gate by twos and threes so they didn't attract attention by bursting all through the solid wall at once, alarming all the muggles. You must come and stay the summer, said Ron. Both of you. I'll send you an owl. Thanks, said Harry. I'll need something to look forward to. People jostled as they moved around to the gateway back to the muggle world. Some of them called, Bye, Harry. See you, Potter. Still famous, said Ron, grinning at him. Now where I'm going, I promise you, said Harry. Ron, and Hermione passed through the gateway together. There he is, Mom. There he is. Look. It was Ron's Ginny Weasley, Ron's youngest sister, but she wasn't pointing at Ron. Harry Potter, she squealed. Look, Mom, I see. Be quiet, Jenny. It's rude to point. Mrs. Weasley smiled down at them. Busy year? She said. Very, said Harry. Thanks for the fudge and the sweater, Mrs. Weasley. Oh, it was nothing, dear. Ready, are you? And it was Uncle Vernon, the purple-faced, still mustache, still looking furious at the nerve of Harry carrying an owl cage in the station, full of ordinary people. Behind him stood Aunt Petunia and Dudley, looking terrified at the very sight of Harry. You must be Harry's family, said Mrs. Weasley. In a manner of speaking, said Uncle Vernon. Hurry up, boy. We haven't got all day. And he walked away. Harry hung back for a last word with Ron and Hermione. See you over the summer, then? Hope you have a good holiday, said Hermione, looking uncertain after Uncle Vernon, shocked that anyone could be so unpleasant. Oh, I will, said Harry. And then the surprised grin was spreading over his face. They don't know we're not allowed to use magic at home. I'm going to have a lot of fun with Dudley this summer.